I just watched the. Oh All right, I don't care who watches this. I really hope some people watch this, and I hope enough people can sit there and really get on death battle shit. I understand that it is their content, and as a content creator for the and I understand you, like, you have free grounds, free reign to, especially to put however you want to make a decision. But it's hard to what to like that's to enjoy a video based off characters that we all grew up to watch, and then when they provide analytics on it. The issue with that video, and it's not because I'm gonna clip this. I'm gonna clip this right now. I'm not the person to say, oh, I'm the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan. I never will. I never will act like it. But one thing, just like people like Superman, there are particular things and abilities and feats and things that I stated you just cannot deny. Which in their cases they deny, and then they say stuff that kind of makes it impossible to enjoy, because they say stuff like it's hard to calculate or hard to argue or say the outcome, but then they say, oh, Goku, like, but this is pertaining to the Goku Black versus Reverse Flash. They say, oh, Reverse Flash just has too many abilities and what he was able to do. Without going into full description of everything that was stated, first of all, one thing I didn't like what they said was that Reverse Flash was able to take years off of Goku Black's life because he switched into Goku's mortal body. That's false. He would not be able to just sit there just because he's in Goku's mortal body doesn't mean anything. First of all, we don't even know the true age range for Saiyans. That's for a fact. We don't know how old they can live up to. We don't know. There's no definitive information about that. We know they're not immortal, but we know they're not regular mortals. We don't know exactly how long they live, for one. Two, his wish was not only to switch bodies with Goku. His wish was to switch everything. So if you watch the show and if you read the manga, the Dragon Ball Super manga, he took not only Goku's all of his powers and abilities by taking over his body, but he took all of his God Ki with him. So that means at the level he was when he fought Beerus, and Zamasu was able to match that and some. Because remember, Goku absorbed Super Saiyan God into his base form. It took him to go Super Saiyan 1 to match Zamasu blow for blow when they sparred. So that means when Zamasu went into his body, he was already at a higher multiplier than Goku was at the big after he absorbed Super Saiyan God into his base form. That's for one. Two, and then you got to think about the macrocosm. The way the universes in Dragon Ball Z works is that there's still infinite verses. Even though there's universes, but there's still infinite verses. You have to also put the consideration there's heaven, hell, the other world, and then there's the living world, and then there's the planet of Supreme Kais, and then now we're also aware of the realm Beerus and them lives in. But it's always been stated and dictated that the realm and Beerus and Wiz lives in, and also the Kais, exists outside of time. They don't, but it's still within their concept of what the construction of a universe is. Just because you're applying the construction of what you would apply what a universe is different from how they construct how a universe is in their Dragon Ball verse. They're infinite in size. If you have an infinite amount of life and you have to have an infinite amount of space to fit an infinite amount of people, that means it's continuously growing. The universe, our living universes, does not consider, as far as we know, when you die, you die. There's no heaven, hell, and there's two separate spaces. It's already been stated that there's two separate spaces. There's even an in between where if it's been that's canon. Oh well, that's canon. That all that stuff is canon. Heaven and hell is two separate spaces. The other world is a separate space within itself. The concept of the time for where the Kais and the God of Destruction exists outside the concept of time is real. That's like trying to sit there and that's just the same thing like Darkseid. Darkseid does not live in the construct of their living timeline. They're so massive because living outside, they're like marbles to them outside their timeline. But in the multiverse, DC multiverse to them is just nothing but marbles. That's basically the same thing for Beerus and them. Like, yeah, he may not be like a huge avatar crazy like thing like Darkseid, but that's the construct of it all. You can't sit there and downplay, say, oh, it's only 13 or 13 times the size when you're not even putting it on an infinite mass. It's an infinite mass. It's an infinite space. It's an infinite void. You cannot take away infinity and then try to say, oh, it's infinity times this infinity. Infinity is still infinity. Regardless of what you say, infinity is still infinity. If he was at that point, where Goku was at the point where he absorbed Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, and he clashed with Beerus, and it was about to destroy infinite space on top, infinite spaces, and them destroying the universe itself is bigger than what it is. Because destroying that universe is also pertains to destroying the timeline, which Zumasu basically did, and you're downplaying the story. He not just only went, he's from universe, I think he was from universe, Gawasu's from like universe 8. Or universe, like he's like from universe 8, universe 7. Universe 8 or universe 7, which in itself is still the same construct, an infinite universe. It's infinite voids on top of infinite voids. What Zumasu did, he traveled from each and every infinite verse, killed every infinite mortal, gods alike. And he did it with the amplifications of Goku's body. And that just shows you exactly how strong Goku is. And when you apply the God Key on top of it. Now, you can sit there and say, and you can't say it didn't happen. They verbaged it. They worded it. It's stated in the manga. You can't take that from the creators. Even Kiriyama's pen is on on the creation. You cannot reject what's already been stated. He went through infinite spaces, defeated gods of destructions. No matter how you flip it, even if it took 2 of him to do it, it still is the fact he's going through multiple universes and different realities and destroying them on that level. It got to the point, at the end, it took for the king, Xenos to destroy that timeline. But the destruction of the timeline was no small matter. Like, he just did it. He destroyed all 12 infinite voids that had infinite voids on top of infinite voids. That's what he did. As simply as that. But that's basically the concept. That's basically he didn't destroy. Like, Zumasu didn't destroy. Goku Black didn't destroy the actual timeline itself, which is infinite voids on top of infinite voids. But to be able to go across, and he did it in a matter of just, I think, a couple of years. Like, be from 2 to 3 years, probably even max, let's say 4. We don't know exactly. I don't think it was happening that long in the Goku Black arc where he was just going around slapping everybody up. He traveled from universes to universes, going from each level of existence and killing them. He killed Kais. There was a point he killed gods of destructions. It says, without an active god of destruction, angels will sleep. That means he killed gods of destructions to avoid having to battle with the angels. That means he destroyed every god of destruction within his timeline. And the timeline itself can also be known as a separate multiverse within its own. And he did that. And he didn't just do it in his timeline. When he went back to a different timeline where he grabbed the other Zumasu from, they did it there too. That's what they did. They did it there too. You can't compare to, and this is where I'm saying, the reason why I'm bringing this stuff up is because you got to think about how fast it took for them to move in order for do that casually, just doing it after a while. Casually, just you're defining all that logic, and then when him and Goku fought, it took Goku to go Super Saiyan 3, and that's after he absorbed. Now, Super Saiyan 3 is a 500 times multiplier. You're talking about, now that he absorbed Super Saiyan God into his base form, you're talking about a 500 times multiplier on top of that. And remember, we was just talking about him. That's why I bring to the fact of him destroying infinite voids. You keep saying, you can't say it's head guessing or head canon. It's there. It's stated and within the facts. If you can sit there and do a 500 times multiplier of how fast that power was for them to blow, and it was you said it's quintillions of the light speed of light. You 500 times that. That's way. I'm sorry. That's still way. Even if you want to sit there and say oh, the DC multiverse is still bigger than that. It doesn't matter. It's still, you can't conform. You can't restrict that character to those terms just because they have hella timelines, or not even just timelines, because they recreate the timelines, but the multiverses that exist within that timeline. Just because that doesn't really mean shit. You can sit there and have several universes, but doesn't mean all universes are built the same size, which is, even by realistic studies, that every universe is not the same size. Yeah, they're forever expanding and growing, but you got to think about, if we're all like little bubbles in the ocean, one bubble can grow bigger than another bubble, even if it could have the ability to continuously expand, which they say in relative science, doesn't necessarily mean that universe is just bigger. It doesn't mean that universe will ever be bigger than the next one. So there are a bunch of smaller verses in DC which have been stated. So just because he did that, we don't know exactly how big the universes are. So how can you sit there and say that and restrict Goku Black and say exactly how strong he would be, and then you give Flash a biased thing where you're just, oh, that's it, that's just what it is. It's this times billion bigger than that. It doesn't mean shit. If you're destroying, that means the voids that they're existing in are not infinite. If you could race from one edge of existence to another edge of existence, that doesn't mean you exist within an infinite void. Goku, Dragon Ball Z, they exist within an infinite void. In order for them to travel from a different universe to another universe, first of all, you gotta be on some kind of level of like Gods of Destruction, where you're now in that past the mortal realm, where you have the ability to trespass outside of the time of the existing time flow, and out to a different time of existing time flow, which you can say, considering which dimension hopping, but that's what Goku Black did. He did exactly the same levels of feats that you're casually that Flash and them doing. Yeah, he may not be able to vibrate to stop from an explosion that was going across the multiverse, but then it wasn't anything that necessarily was stated to threaten to destroy it. The way, and it's just crazy that you can have. It's been shown that Flash is no. In the terms of speed, yeah, depending on what version you use of Superman, he's a match for him. But let's take Superboy Prime, for example. One of the strongest iterations of Superman to ever exist, and we still don't even know how strong this guy is. That's like saying, like, okay, I'm not doing that, because actually that is kind of a hard, because I don't think anybody from Dragon Ball Z can keep up with that guy, because that's retconning on a different scale that he can do. But if you're trying to, if this is the same person that Goku who fought Goku Black, which Goku Black has infinite Zenkais because of his God Ki and regeneration abilities to heal himself continuously, and it's not just near death experiences. He can literally take a couple blows and beats up from Goku and get 10, and they can get anywhere from 5 to 15 times stronger they previously were. So that means that whole entire fight, Goku was just trying to beat him up. They kept losing. He kept getting stronger, and stronger. Even in the freaking the manga, it was stated that he was getting infinitely stronger. The only reason why he fused with Zumasu was because he was in danger. Like, he didn't want to be put in the danger of being Hakai. He did. And that's what happened. But that's originally why in the manga itself, which premiered, I believe it premiered before the anime premiered it, he fused in the first place, was because Goku learned how to use Hakai, which destroys not only yet body but also spirit. So it's not. So he doesn't even necessarily even need the fusion. So he's going to continuously grow stronger. And to put the implication that he can't keep up with Flash is just ridiculous, because Goku was trained with Wiz in them before he fought Goku Black, which is a fact. He teleported from the edge of it. It took him a minute. It did take him a couple minutes to find the energy source to pick up on them, but he teleported. And it doesn't matter if you want to say, oh, speed's that's not speed feat, but it is. Because you just you compared Flash beating two gods who could teleport to the halfway across to the other edge of the universe as a speed feat. So he did that, and like that. Yeah, because Zumasu has that ability. He's used it. He can instant, and with an amplification on Goku's ability mixed with his God Ki, that makes him really unstoppable. It's not the fact that he had the time ring that just makes him infinitesimally impossible to beat. You can't even sit there and try to say that he can. Oh, Goku Black can just phase through him. That's not true either, because there's a bunch of beings or material that has been stated they cannot phase through. Even one time, there was a time that even Flash thought it's suicide. He's too hard to phase through. He can't phase through Superman. And you're talking about Goku, who's comparable to that, but then a guy who has Goku's abilities and his own compiled on top of each other, and has infinite, has crazy amounts of Zenkais he can keep boosting himself from. How do you lose? And it's not even me trying to be biased because I'm Dragon Ball Z, he's a nerd. I'm just trying to sit there there's a lot of facts that I just did not bring up within this fucking fight. I've really felt as though the way even the presentation, the way you went more in depth about that, compared to, you didn't even really go into great depth about Goku Black and what he's able to do. Even when Goku faced a near-death experience and he Zenkai'd up and he was fighting both of them at the same time, Goku Black got back up and beat him up. After he got a Zenkai, 2 seconds later he got a Zenkai too, and just went way above where Goku was at because of his God Ki. And then he took on Goku and Vegeta at the same time. Two guys who were at the same level of that, and they were fighting in a form beyond that. Base form Zumasu was fighting on hand-to-hand with a Super Saiyan 3 and a Super Saiyan God before he transformed Goku. That Goku. And then if you were saying that means if you stack on it, then that means if the Super Saiyan God itself is like the equivalent, then you gotta do, that means that's a 500 times multiplier on top of the Super Saiyan 3 with the 50 times multiplier of the Super Saiyan God. So if you do that's, I ain't gonna do the rest of it. Hold on, what is that? I'm not I understand people it's simple math, but let me just click into that. So we do 500 times 50. That's a 25,000 times multiplier on top of that. What? And a simple Clash was way below that in his base form. Wait, what do you imagine? A guy who has that stacked on top of each other already, and then doesn't even need to go transform, and then when he does transform, imagine that multiplier. Can't even imagine it. But if he is someone that's compiled of both versions, and that's 100, when he goes to that's 100 times multiplier on that 500,000. And his base form. He was base form Goku fighting a Super Saiyan 3 Goku. And it's a fact. If you say I'm lying, you can go back and watch the anime and read the manga. That's not lies, that's facts. And that's one thing I don't do when it comes to anime. Y'all don't do your research at all. You don't pull up facts. You don't sit there and take your time out of your day to read the manga. You'll sit there and take generalized information that you can just go find without going into heavy detail. A lot of times you really got to go and watch and learn this shit before you actually make a video on it and then say, that's facts. It doesn't even, I get it, it's all for fun, but it also gets a little annoying when you're being biased on an opinion, you're kind of making a biased opinion. Your thing is that, it's because it shows to be there's several universes on top of that, and it may be because there's the perspective of the size. But in Dragon Ball Z, they never sit there and tell you exactly what the size is. But but one thing I do know is facts about verbalization. If it's an infinite space, and there's infinity on top of infinity, and an infinity, it doesn't matter how many universes exist within it, or how you say, 60 billion light years bigger than our, it's spread at a couple seconds. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. The Dragon Ball Z verse, just the living universe, is infinitesimally, does not stop growing. Even if you say, it continues to expand on our own, you're saying it's about a billion of our universes. It doesn't matter when you say infinite. Infinite. That's like when Jiren shook infinity. I'm not saying his power is damn near infinite, but it just makes you there. That puts him above dimensional being scaling. And the reason why I'm saying that on the dimensional being scaling is because they can go into They have existed. They can survive outside the living time universe. Like Goku went back and was able to withstand being in outside of time and space itself. When you think about it, realistically speaking, if you don't have a kind of protection to Flash, you're in the Flashverse, you're dead. You're good as dead. You're wiped out of existence. You're no longer, there's no time stream there. But because they're so fucking powerful, they can sit there casually in a tired out version. Hey Zeno, you want to come back with us? They easily just went there. And then one thing that kind of blew me about this fight is that y'all make it seem as though the time ring really made a difference. The time ring, yes, allows them to time travel, but that's all it does. That's all it does. That's really all it does. It just allows them to travel. It doesn't. Well, I don't know where you got the context at. Oh, it doesn't matter. You can't destroy him because this infinite. He always will come back. No, that's not true. If you destroy him in the future, you got to be able to destroy him in the past. And then when you destroy him in the past, you have to do it at a certain point in time before he even does it. Which is why Beerus went and killed Zumasu before his timeline Zumasu can do anything. Because our timeline Zumasu was already thinking of doing something. They was already experiencing the shift because there was multiple time rings being created from that alternate timeline that already existed. And there was also multiple time rings because when Goku and them kept going back and flipping through time. But it's just something that's dumb as fuck to even imagine. Like, oh, he can create this thing, so he sure has enough energy to destroy a time ring. Where the fuck do you even get that analogy? How would you even conceive that Goku Black would just let him do that? And you're already showing he's tagging Goku Black easily. So your argument would have to just be that he has to just be way faster than Goku Black. But that's just not entirely just possible. If he is above the standard of where Goku was in his base form, being able to travel to the edge outside of a time of existence and perception to see that, yeah, it took him a couple minutes, but still, that's still faster. That means his thought process and be able to locate, detect energy is still a lot quicker. Then we say, so yeah, that's because detect movements like a hypersonic. That means that shit. That's distance, but we're like continuously rotating. That means he still has to travel and they always explain how the instant transmission technique works. That means it's ability of perception, have to be able to detect and locate. That means he has to sit there and be able to wipe out and tell the difference between the different levels of power and everything else, and etc. etc. That means that means his mindset is moving beyond the speed of light. And I'm like, even if you can sit there and say, oh, he can't talk at the speed of light like Flash and them, yeah, because it's not his things about hypersonic movement, but being able to do all that extra bullshit. But the thought process is still there. Like, that's just the dumbest shit. Like, even with that, even saying that, it's still, when you're doing the math yourself, you're still providing implications. So you should be able to provide the implications of what they can do. I'm not saying I'm sitting there highballing him past with the author's intent, but that's just what I'm looking for is the author's intent. The author's intent has really made Goku and them in their own scale, their own. You don't need to sit there and say there's about 56, there's just like 56 different universes, and or the DC multiverse expands at 60 billion times per parsec second, or whatever the fuck you want to say. It doesn't matter. Infinity is not like dumb. Because in that case, then how do you explain Flash running beyond that? When dark matter itself, if it's supposed to be something that continuously grows, and dark matter itself isn't heavy, it's not even heavier than, it's lighter than light. No, it's not. Hold on. Dark matter, it's like, yeah, I think they said that there is infinite in its growth. But if it's infinite growth, then that means there's no real things of running to the edge of existence at all. But there is. Goku Black, and like, yeah, you can sit there and say, so how can Goku go outside exist at the time if, it's still an infinite void? Because it's teleporting and traveling to a different space and dimension within itself. It's just something that exists outside of the known time. Where in their case, they're not doing that. It's just they do have some crazy ass abilities where it doesn't really make sense for DC things, but that means you still can't take it out of perspective what Dragon Ball Z characters are. And it's not me just being a Dragon Ball Z fanboy, because you want to be, if you want to be honest with, I'm a Bleach fan. I'll put Bleach over anything every day, any day. And I still think I still think y'all, you highballed Naruto and really downplay Ichigo, because you even try to you only use Ichigo to the maximum of where he left off before he fought Aizen. But that's a different thought process. But really, y'all really hold him. Y'all really hold Goku. Goku Black. Goku Black should have won that fight, hands down. I won't say it's a no competition. Like, that's still Reverse Flash. Let's be actual. Like, I would never. I'm not gonna sit there dying. The insane hacks. You do have some pretty insane hacks, especially when you create a composite character, like you always do, a composite character. But whatever. He still loses though. He's not even the fastest speedster. Wally West has been said to understand it, the most fast, the better, and he's always been said to be fastest. Even the new that recently came out, and it's even said it. He was faster. But then he's just like Goku's black, and then what was previously stated. Like, it's like y'all not up to date on shit. It's like I get it. I get it. You still did your footwork. Congratulations, but you need to try harder. You're gonna sit there and create something that's more entertaining. Why don't you pertain it to the whole entire character makeup of itself, instead of for just trying to add bits and pieces and a little razzle dazzle here and there? Because you've given a lot of DC characters more wins than ever. I don't want to give a fuck about that Marvel that Iron Man versus Batman fight, because you still hold Batman. Matter of fact, I'm have a quick tidbit about Batman. Batman should never lost that fight. I don't give a fuck about Godbuster suit. I don't care. When you compare what you just did about the Hellbat suit defeating Darkseid in his own realm, do you even understand what you're saying right there? That means he fought not just a fraction of the power where it took the whole fucking DC multiverse. As you said, the DC multiverse, when the Green Lantern had to use it just to defeat a Avatar. Multiversal power. And you just in your statement too, you just explained how big that shit is. And Darkseid exists outside of it. Being beyond that power. And Batman used a suit to destroy a being beyond that power. That's above. And then there's beings already in DC who exist within the timeline, that exist within the living timeline and universe, that are just as strong as Skyfathers. You know that. And you think Tony Sue, who can only fight Eternals and probably a Skyfather, or Eternals aren't. I think Eternals are around the same power level or fate strength around the Skyfathers, because you still have beings like the others, like select, like you still have beings above them, who's tier above them. Like, it's just not. No. Like, even Prime Odin with the Odin Force is tiers above the Eternals, which is a fact. Just him unsheathing his blade with the Odin Force and imbuing it threatened the fucking multiverse. There's no Eternal doing that. When he lost to Iron Man's Godbuster suit, the Hellbat, which was stated to who killed a being above that, and who lives outside of that, and who is way bigger and powerful than that. You saying he loses? That makes sense. It doesn't make no fucking sense. It's stupid.